Batman is here. And he's sitting across from me, other side of me here. Welcome, everyone, to another Nerd Room live stream. We are very excited here on the 1 week anniversary of the debut of the Batman. We are here to chat with a whole bunch of friends, a huge cross section of fandom, of podcasters, of enthusiasts of the Bat. And we've got quite an exciting show all planned out here for everyone. And because, like we did on this week's podcast, because this is such a monumental occasion, it calls for a very special host. So I'm going to kick back for this one, guys. I'm going to have a bit of a break. I'm going to provide some commentary here. I'm going to turn it over to my good friend, the goddamn Batman, Carlos. Welcome to the live stream. And here's the hosting duties. Other way.
Thank you, my friend. But yeah, you know what? The Batman, it's so nice. We had to do it twice. And the movie ended up being just so epic that we couldn't leave it on our standard review and out. We had to put together this collab with some of the finest people in our podcasting circles. And yeah, man, you know what? Without further ado, why don't we kick this thing off with our Ride or Die, the Vigilante 1939.
There they are.
There they are. We got Nick Zednick, Mr. Caruso, and Drifter Nico.
Friday, March 11th. We got the call from Tim. All these nights of podcasting have turned us into nocturnal animals. We're very happy to be here.
Someone's developed flair for the theatrics, I guess.
Man, I'm so
Matt Reeves
excited
version
here, man.
And Zeddy's got the Dylan O'Brien hair going. I mean, I don't. What can I say, man?
All you sycophantic suck-ups, you two-faced phonies. I am ecstatic to be here with you gentlemen tonight.
Yeah, man, we're happy to have you. We're going to run things a little different tonight. So instead of the standard kind of live stream breakdown, gush fest drinking, we're going to be doing all of that. But it's not all going to rest on my shoulders. So we've asked everybody who's joining us tonight to prepare a question or two, and we're just going to ask each other so that we can all revel in the glory of the Batman and get all sorts of different perspectives. Speaking of different perspectives, we got a fellow man from the north, and we are the Nerd Room. This guy holds it down with the House of Nerd, our man Sergio. Welcome to the show, man. Long overdue, baby.
What's going on, my man? How you doing? How's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
Excellent, baby.
Hey,
Excellent.
Man, I'm hyped to be here with you guys tonight, man. Thank you, gentlemen, for the invite. What are we gonna do? We're gonna talk some Batman, eh?
That's all we're gonna talk about, man.
Okay.
It's Batman all day, all night. We're going to run this Batman train until Sunday morning, until we see what you guys serve up on your show.
That's it.
Yeah,
man.
we're gonna get this right through, right into the House of Nerd at what is it usually? What time on your YouTube channel? 9 a.m.
Yeah, so I got a little show called the House of Nerd Show every Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. I think a bunch of you gents have made it through in one way or another. So, man, the panel is live tonight, man. You guys put together a dope panel, so I'm excited to be a part of this. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, man, and we're excited to have you. It's long overdue since we had you in the house. And speaking of bringing them into the house and into the familia, as us Italians like to say, we got to bring in yet another Caruso, Mr. Anthony Caruso from Tis the Podcast.
What's going on, guys?
Everyone was expecting him for our Batman Return show because the Christmas theme. But Anthony, how are you doing, baby?
I'm doing great. I'm honored to be here. Honored you asked. I'm happy to be part of this little family reunion with my fellow Carusos here.
That's right, man. That's right. We have to represent. Like, we do this with the Vigilante all the time, and I'm just like, you know what I could use? I could use some more Carusos.
Hell yeah,
Caruso.
Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah.
And you know
this
what?
one's coming at you from Gotham itself, New York, baby.
I know, man. Anthony. Yeah, I love your energy in those tweet streets, and I was like, we gotta have this guy on. He's the man. So, man, I'm very happy that you could make it and join us today. and another guy that I think is in the lobby that I'm happy that could make it today. One of my favorite guys in this Bat Chat space, Mr. Javi. Javi with us?
Hey,
Yeah.
I am with you guys. What's up?
What's
I
up?
am so excited, man.
Man, we're excited to have you here. And you know, your addition to the show was as a result of you being the post-credit tease for the pre-Batman show hosted by the
That's
Vigilante.
right. That's right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we all thought the show was done, and all of a sudden there was another riddle on the screen, and it was our boy Javi.
Well, I am excited to be here and talk with everybody. It's my first time on the Nerd Room, so I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
man.
talk some
And
Batman.
yeah, what Mustic Anthony, overdue to having you here, but yeah, I'm actually shocked that you say that because it's been way too long. But yeah, man, let's kick it off with a bang. What better way to do it than with the Batman? And
Heck
while we
yeah.
brought in all these new friends, we have to bring in one old friend, Mr. Chris Evans.
Yeah.
The
How's it going?
sexier of Chris Evans.
I don't know about that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about that one.
Oh, I do, man. You seen that guy with his flat top and the mustache? We got our boy here with the nice beard going. And
I've seen one of those.
how are you doing
going?
tonight, man?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk Batman. You know me. If it's Batman, I'm ready to talk about it. Especially
Excellent.
this Batman.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody's kind of had a sampling of our thoughts on our various shows and on the Twitter feeds and everything else. But I figured we'd do our little Q&A and collab with each other here in this thing. So I might as well get it struck off by myself here. So I'll set the paradigm for the format and we'll just go through. So go big or go home. Since 2017... we've been waiting for this movie. All the angst, all the hang-wringing, all the literal rending of garments by some. And all I got to ask is, with our first solo Batman movie since Christian Bale, was it worth it? From the time you heard that announcement that Matt Reeves is coming in and going to be shepherding our solo Batman film, first one that we're going to be seeing in a post DCEU launched environment, the first one that we'll be seeing since Christian Bale. There was a lot of angst, there was a lot of heartache, there's a lot of mountains to climb, but yeah, was it worth it? And you know what, I'm going to kick it off to my man Sergio there, the guy who's probably the most married to the last guy to don
Oh
the bat suit.
man. Oh man. You
Look,
guys
his
okay?
hoodie's
Look at
already
that.
torn. He's got that chest showing and everything. He came ready for this one.
Man, listen, first of all, I want to say I'm digging the intro, I'm digging the setup that you guys have put together and what you guys are doing. So big ups, props to you guys for everything you guys are doing for nerddom, man. I had to start off with a compliment because I think I might be bringing a little bit of a hot take to the panel. So was it worth it? Absolutely, man. I think unless the Batman turned out to be an absolute shit show, it's hard. I think it's hard to drop the ball on something like this with a director like Reeves and the actors that you've got. You know, you've got Pattinson and Kravitz and Dano and Farrell and all these amazing character actors, right? So absolutely, it was worth it. I'm digging the future of DC films, what they're doing, their strategy. And as you alluded to, Carlos, I'm a big fan of Batflick and you know the previous iteration and what Snyder was doing and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, this was a good film. It was a good film. Yeah, I'll put it like that. If I'm gonna be 100% honest, I gotta say I wasn't blown away by this film though. And I'll say that I think I might have got caught up with the hype behind the Batman because my expectations were always a little bit tempered. Okay, with this one, like let's just see how it goes. But seeing everybody's just like crazy reviews, I got my hopes really high for this. I enjoyed it. but there's some things that we'll get into. I think probably a little later on as you gents get into
The
it. Man.
weight of expectations, man. It's
Yeah,
always
that's what it
something
is.
that can hurt or elevate these films. It's like No Way Home and anything,
Mhm.
right? Like even Multiverse of Madness now. Like there's a pile of expectations on these things, and
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear you say that like the weight of expectations at times, and maybe for you for this one, dampen the experience just a tad.
Mm-hmm.
Could be. It could be. But
Yeah, no, it's a hell of a thing, right? But yeah, Anthony, what do you think, man? Was it worth it? This journey that we've been on? You've been with those brass knuckles in those tweet streets a couple times.
just a few times. It was 100% worth it. Sergio may not be prepared to say it blew him away, but it definitely blew me away. I was a huge fan of Affleck, Christian Bale, Keaton. But I think I am prepared after 3 times to say Pattinson's my Batman. This film drew on all of my favorite comics: The Long Halloween, Year One, Earth One. The opening 10 minutes alone were probably my favorite 10 minutes in any Batman film. It was incredible to me. And saying that, it doesn't take away from any of the other Batmen who have come before it. And I see a lot of tweets already, trying to pit fans of each franchise against one another. Like, who's better, Batfleck or Pattinson, Bale or Keaton? Like, no. Keaton will always be iconic. Bale will always be amazing. Affleck will always be badass. But liking Pattinson in this iteration doesn't take away from any of that. And this may be my preferred Batman right now in the moment, but I will gladly sit and watch any of those guys anytime I see that movie on TV. So,
amen, man. Well said. And that's kind of how I treat the Batman too. It's like ice cream, right? Like one day you want this flavor, another you want something a little bit different. Maple walnut is an old favorite of mine, but sometimes I want that chocolate cherry chip. So
there you go.
Well, look, I want to pick up on something you said there, Anthony. The idea and concept of a favorite over being the best, right? I don't think something needs to be the best. Like Pattinson doesn't need to be the best Batman, but he sure as hell can be my favorite Batman for the moment, right? And just like you're saying with that, like kind of the ice cream analogy, Carlos, it's like of the moment right now, Pattinson is my favorite Batman too. But that doesn't take away from what came before. And it doesn't mean that one or the other, like, I don't know, like this concept of ranking, like and we all fall victim to that and we've all done it in the past, but I like this idea of putting favorite in front of things as opposed to the best. Like, what's the best MCU movie? I don't know. I can tell you what my favorite one is though. Right. And that, I love how you kind of frame that out. Like that is your favorite. You can't argue that. Like that is your opinion, right? There's nothing to argue there. And that's a beautiful way of putting a pin in that whole discussion about who's the best. No, who's your favorite?
Yeah, exactly.
I think to just go off of that really quick. I mean, I grew up loving Jim Aparo as an artist, but that doesn't stop me from loving and appreciating Lee Bermejo, who's a totally different style than Aparo. And that's also doesn't stop me from like getting a new Jorge Jimenez Batman drawn. So I kind of feel like at this point with Batman, there's so many different flavors that, you don't have to just be narrowed down to one. It's like an artist. You can have lots of different favorites when it comes to bat art.
Yeah, well said, man. Well said. And was that a tease that you got a Jimenez commission on the way, man?
Oh no, not yet. Not yet. No. I'm just really excited that he's getting another crack at it with a writer that I'm looking forward to.
Oh, I know that. What a dream team, Zdarsky and Jimenez. Oh, it's as though picked from heaven. But while you got the mic, Javi, was it worth it, man? This journey that we've been on from the fallout of BVS / Justice League to last Friday.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, you know me, I'm a big James Bond fan, and there were a lot of delays with the most recent movie. And every time I got bummed out by one of them, here came Matt Reeves of like, here's another behind the scenes photo, or here's a camera test. So even though this got delayed too, like it just felt different to me than other things I was excited for. And so when we finally got to last week and seeing it for the first time, like since I was a kid, and Nico knows this, like when I saw Seven, I was blown away. I'm like, why can't we have a Batman movie that's like that, without, bright colors and takes it really serious in a really dark tone? Because, I mean, you can read a 50s Batman comic or you can read No Man's Land, and that's totally different than reading Arkham Asylum. Like we just talked about, there's so many different flavors to Batman. And I've always wanted like a David Fincher style Batman movie. And we got that. And 10 minutes into the movie, after that first scene where he says, "I'm vengeance," I turned to my fiance. I'm like, we could walk out right now. And I would be 100% content with what I saw. Like, I don't need to see anything else, because this is already like this perfect idea of what I wanted for a Batman movie. And that doesn't mean I don't love 89 passionately, that I don't love the Dark Knight trilogy passionately, but this is just a different layer of something to enjoy and appreciate. So 100% worth the wait.
That's awesome, man. And yeah, like I said on our review, this one had a few of those moments, like when I saw Begins for the first time, where being a long time Batman reader, you never knew if you would get those types of moments and those themes and those tones playing out on screen in live action. And it delivered it to me. Like there was a couple of times I got swept up, and I'm like trying not to get emotional because I got my boy Troy sitting next to me. I don't want to be embarrassed because he's like the coolest guy I know. But yeah, like I hear what you're saying, like that I'm vengeance scene and just like the head tilts and the looks. There was just something that they captured there. But Chris, how about you, man? Was it worth it?
It's a fun question. I would say it absolutely was worth it for me. I mean, 5 years, we had a lot of time where there was, is it going to be Affleck? Is it going to be this? Well, what is it going to be? Is it an origin? Are we doing Nolan's films again? What is this? And to finally get to the moment when we all got to see it last week, it's just magic. It really was magic. When as soon as you see the Batman in those big red letters, you know you're in for something different. And it opens with that beautiful Riddler scene, and I can't hear Ave Maria the same way anymore. And you see that like Michael Myers-esque home invasion scene.
Yes.
Really cool stuff. And like Javi said, after that I'm vengeance scene, like that's the only flavor ice cream I want right now. Give me that vengeance flavored ice cream. I'm in.
Love this ice cream thing we've got going on here.
Yeah. Give me that ice cream bar. I'm good. It was worth it.
Man, honestly, it's the way I feel about Batman. It's just like there's just so many good ones that you can't narrow it down. So a thought that I had when watching it for the third time, and you brought up that opening Riddler scene, is that the Riddler watching the mayor in his house, or now that we've seen it, or is that one of his followers doing recon on it while Nashton is in the house?
Oh.
Well,
I always assumed it was
Another podcast.
I don't know.
Batman would ask that.
Zeddy, making me feel good. And while you're making me feel good, tell me, Mr. McGinnis,
Oh, man. Yeah.
was it worth it?
That's too early for that. Too early for that still. Man, was it worth the wait? Come on. Was it worth the wait? 1000% it was for me. So many things were in the way of this movie, right? Some might say, but Hell or High Water, this movie did in fact come out completely worth it. I've seen it 4 times. It was worth it every single time that I saw it. Yeah, a big whopping 4. I got 2 more to go. You best believe I'm gonna make it 6. But man, I was looking for a certain energy with this movie. I know we all talk about, we said it on our show plenty of times that when you walked out of The Dark Knight, man, there was a certain feeling of walking in and then walking out, right? And I was hyped for every single movie. I was curious after 10 years if it was going to be the same feeling again, because all the right pieces were in the puzzle for Reeves to make something utterly spectacular. I was curious if people were still going to care the same way. Granted, I wish I had been in better theaters with, more of audience reactions to get that feeling that I did with the Dark Knight trilogy, but that's okay. The movie hit just as well for me. I got the Batman movie that I waited and followed for 5 years, and that to me made it all worth it.
That's awesome, man. Crusoe's our ride or die. Take it home.
Dude, I mean, like many of you guys, I was a big Affleck fan and the Snyder stuff, and we joked on the Vigilante podcast how long it took for this movie to kind of come to fruition. But I don't want to sound like a broken record. It was completely worth it. It's just so Batman, this movie. I want to immerse myself in it. I wish I could have it playing in the house behind me. It's just such a weird thing to like have these expectations and have them met and exceeded.
Mhm.
It's a surreal experience for me, and I love them all like everybody here. I'm not going to tell you it's better than Bale or Keaton or anything like that, but I think as I throw it to him, I just feel so good in the hands of Matt Reeves and where he's going to go with this thing that I think we're in for the greatest Batman stories, the greatest cinematic experience collectively on HBO. I think it's all right in front of us, and I couldn't be more excited. I really couldn't. And I made some jokes about it. We used to tease Eddie. Is it ever going to come? I was a little jealous of Affleck because I loved Affleck. I absolutely adored him in the role. I love the Snyder stuff, but you know, this is truly the Batman for me. It encapsulates everything from a graphic novel to the classic stories of all time. Just wonderful.
Well said. It's hard to follow everyone here. It's hard to follow everyone here.
Last, man.
You know, for me, yeah, it was because the journey for this movie, it's very different from all these other films that were, you know, in development and have come out the last few years, because the weight of what Batman is, and the only thing I can compare it to is the lead up to No Way Home. But even that was a shorter life, right? We were finding out in the fall of 2020, the rumors about Toby and Andrew started, and then that thing came out at the end of 2021. But we've been connected with this movie from since Affleck was going to direct it. Mm-hmm. Right. And since he teased the Deathstroke scene, I remember where I was when I saw that. And it was before Joe Manganiello was even cast. So then to see it change so many times, and then to see Pattinson get cast, and then to do my homework as someone who right off the bat was like, I can't stand this. And then I watched Good Time, Lost City of Z, High Life. Zeddy and I went to go see The Lighthouse in theaters in like October 2019. And I'm like, this guy could act. In fact, I was saying he should have gotten an Oscar nom in 2019. That's how good he was in The Lighthouse. And then for someone who I was like, oh, I think Zoe Kravitz would be a great Catwoman. She gets cast. I'm not saying I called it, but I did. And then having everyone else, like the Jeffrey Wright casting was awesome, because at the time I was loving Westworld, and he's in. I haven't seen the James Bond films, but I know he's in there. Javi, I'm sorry, I will. And then just to watch the first trailers and how we all started talking about it too as like a podcast community is what I think made it more exciting, because it was such a long time coming. And then, like Javi said earlier, the cinephile in me, like Seven is one of my favorite movies of all time. And as someone who really liked the Snyder stuff, it's a common theme here. And even just the DCEU stuff in general, because it felt different. And I do love most of the MCU, but even this year, like I liked Black Widow a lot, but the same stuff is there. I really enjoyed Shang-Chi, but that third act, what we've seen before, they were saying Eternals was a little different. To me, it was a little different, but it still had that MCU effect for me. And Spider-Man was wonderful, but for a different reason.
Did you like that movie?
So yeah, a little bit. But then I'm watching this thing, and 5 minutes in, just with the cinematography and the sound design and the score and the and just that opening monologue, I'm like, this is different. Like literally, like Javi said, we started when we first saw it the first time. It was kind of surreal. It was like it starts and you're like, is this really happening? And at least that's how I digest films. Sometimes when I'm really excited for it, I like black out the beginning. Like I don't remember the first time that I saw Spider-Man. Like I just don't remember it. And I was completely sober. I just don't remember what it was like, because I blacked it out. But when Something in the Way kicks in as he looks at the kid, we turn and we laugh, not in a bad way. We're like, Jesus, we're in for a ride. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is it. And so, yeah, it was absolutely worth the wait. But the coolest part of this has been, like when No Way Home came out, everything was Spider-Man, right? And rightfully so. My man Jacob, homie. Batman has always been popular, but I think the divisiveness of BVS until before this movie, people weren't as excited for DC. So to go on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram, and there's all stuff from the Batman. There's Batman stories, and like the video I made today, like people doing a bunch of those things. I'm like, oh, Batman is back in the center. And whether you like the movie or not, it's cool that like people are into Batman again. And we're hopefully going to get more of that with The Flash in 96 years when that movie comes out, and so on and so on. It's cool to have Batman. It must be celebrating Batman again, because for a while we were doing it in isolated ways, right? We were revisiting Snyder, revisiting Keaton, or revisiting Christian Bale, and talking about all these casting trailers and stuff, but it wasn't here. Now it's here. Hashtag Batman's back. Vengeance. Thursday.
Amazing, man. And yeah, so true. It feels like just this grand celebration of all things Batman. So yeah, now that we've got our feet under us and everybody's kind of got those juices going, and you know what? You brought up Jeffrey Wright's Felix, and Javi and I, we had a running joke about being Bond and Felix. So I'm going to throw it to Javi. Javi, why don't you throw us your question and we'll just kind of roundtable this thing so that we can kind of get through everybody. And yeah, why don't you hit up the group with the next talking point?
So I was talking about this over the weekend at the watch party with the Bat Boys a little bit with Ryan Lauer. And I recently reacquired a PS2.
Excellent.
And the Batman Begins game. And one of the things that you can unlock is a classic gray and blue Batman suit skin for Bale's Begins outfit, which looks really bizarre. Now, Matt Reeves has proven that he's a comic fan. And the way that the Batman ends, he's not, the vigilante anymore. He's a caped crusader now. He's a hero. The whole city has seen him, and he, ends on that note. Do you think that for the next movie that Reeves could pull off a credible, like dark blue and gray bat suit, either with the yellow oval or not? Do you think that's something we can see as Batman redefines his image and tweaks his gear for the next movie? Because there's going to be a new suit. That's just the way things work these days.
Yeah, shoot, man. I think so. I think so.
I think it's doable with the cinematography. It's got to be subtle. I don't think it can be an outright like, bam, let's see something a little bit brighter. But I think it is doable. Anthony, I'm kind of curious. You're just like nodding your head. I saw you unmute there. Get real excited when Javi's talking.
I think we're closer than we've ever been to a blue and gray suit. The art of the Batman, they tested concept art of Pattinson in a blue and gray suit, at least drawing wise.
Shoot, how did it look?
It looked great against a Twilight background. I mean, that picture is circulating on Twitter now. The pages in that book, and it looked awesome. So Matt Reeves has at least considered it. And watching the Batman, it's clear he's a big fan of the 60s show and that whole adaptation. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gives us a blue and gray suit. I'm hoping he does. I love that aesthetic.
Yeah, I think it's completely possible. The cinematographer is it Fraser?
Greg Fraser.
I mean, this is a bona fide like top of the game artist right now. I think that they could pull it off. Like I said, I've got so much faith in Matt Reeves and his crew and what they could do. I like what Tim said. I think it could be subtle, a little duller.
Yeah,
but pull it off. Yep.
A little bit of a different take here, but on the same topic. I think what they could do is I do think he's getting an oval. I think it's going to be very Earth One like, where it's either the actual oval or it's like I don't know. It wasn't a hexagon. It was like a pentagon upside down, and maybe it's the light and it's how he sees. Because in here the emblem was a knife. For the next film, maybe it's the light, and when he shows up, he shines it, and that's the positive thing. I still think we're going black for a while, But I think what they're gonna do is this movie has a very amber saturation on the lenses for the light in certain scenes, and the aesthetic for this movie was clearly red. I think how they're going to do it is the next movie is going to be like a blue aesthetic, and a lot of the lighting and scenes are going to have like a blue filter on the camera, and it's going to look blue at times, and it's going to make the gray pop a little more. That's just what I think, because Matt Reeves is what him and Fraser did in here. Like, if you really break down some of those scenes in there, like the lighting and the camera work is stupid good. Like, it's unbelievable what they did. So I'm like, so there's more attention to detail. So the reason why I'm saying that is I want like the Navy, I want like the Hush suit so bad that I don't want to set myself up for disappointment. So I'm going to say, I don't think it's going to happen. So that when it happens, I'm going to be running down the block.
Expectations.
But I really think the Earth One style oval is coming, where maybe the cape is going to come out of it with the collar and everything. I could see that. I could see that first.
Wicked. I just want to bring a few things in here from the comments.
Please.
Jacob feels that we're getting the yellow oval.
For real.
Yeah. Ryan Dole, my dude from Yes Have Some, agrees absolutely. Blue and gray, yellow oval. Chris Jansen, a little bit. I kind of agree with this comment here. The no yellow oval, and they need to distinguish Keaton and the Batman, Pattinson's Batman. So the yellow oval seems like it's going to sit over on Keaton's side of the fence when we do see him debut that. And he's also talking about going towards the Arkham Batman suit, which is higher ears, I believe.
Yeah.
A bit more tactical. Maybe you have to correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm probably the least experienced bat person in the room right now. But I don't know. I like that. I like talking about the evolution of suit because it's something that's going to happen, right? Like we always see an evolution of suit, not only for the action figures, for the McFarlane's going to fill up everyone's room here. I think that they do need to see like a step evolution. Do we go a bit more refined with it too? Less kind of the year two, I'm building my bat suit from scratch in a basement, to something that is a bit more polished. So,
yeah, I like that. And I also like that they've kind of built it into the story so that when he shows up with his new suit, it's not just because, we got to sell action figures. Yeah. It's going to be, he had to transition his baptism, if you will, at the end of the Batman in that first movie. And maybe this is his visual cue to Gotham that he's now a hero and a bona fide beacon to look to, kind of thing. So yeah, no, great discussion, guys.
I just got to throw this out there. You're talking about action figures. I want a gold Battinson suit. I want a white one for the Arctic. I want one with scuba gear.
Listen,
I want them to recreate the entire original Batman run of figures and colors.
If anyone read Endless Winter, though, the best Batman thing ever is when he's rocking a fur coat.
Yes.
With the guy. I mean, it's so cool.
They made a figure.
I know they made a figure. Yeah. But I'm not talking to Todd McFarlane right now. I'm not talking to Joe for a while.
Yeah, Todd's out there being like, we need this. We need 800%. We need this.
And they're all fixed this time.
Yeah. He's going to send you those artist proofs there, Nico.
You better.
You stop dogging him.
You better.
Stop dogging him. But Sergio, brother.
Yes, man.
Hit us with the next chat topic, man.
Okay, we're moving on from Javi's dope question.
Anybody else got some blue love?
A quick thought on that. I like Nico's point that I think it'll be tough to integrate the gray and the blue with the color grading unless they switch it up for the next film. I don't think aesthetically it matches what Reeves and the director of photography are doing with that film. I'd like to see it though. Oh man, I'm a big fan. That's my suit. That's the classic. So will it work? I don't know. I don't think it will work how it's currently set up. But unless they could always switch it up the style, right?
You got to evolve that style, I think. Move, right?
Yeah. I think I saw a comment too about the Arkham suit. I think I kind of see them kind of going something towards that
Yeah.
that style, a little bit more tactical, longer ears maybe. Um, whatever they do, they know what they're doing, man. Stylistically,
Mhm.
I think that's one of my favorite things about the film is it's all it all lines up, right? It's all on point. So
And it all comes down to the action figures at some point, you know. Chris Jansen, he spent more money this last year on Batman figures than anything, and I think quite a few people in this room could probably feel that similar pain. And I do want to go back before you get out there, just as we're on this action figure topic. I agree with Ryan here. We need a Kenner Batman movie where it's just like all of those action figures transition to on screen.
So instead of like a Lego Batman, it's Kenner Batman.
Yeah. Whatever,
I'd be
man.
into
I
that.
just want to see Todd McFarlane try to tackle some of those in realistic versions of those suits.
Across the Batverse. That's what we
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah, that's right. That could be dope. That could be dope. Very expensive, but it could be dope.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you wanted the next topic. I got a simple one, man. Just what was your favorite scene, guys? What was that one scene that you left just kind of it was ingrained and you said that was it, that was dope. Perhaps even made the movie for you.
You know, look, there's a whole bunch that you could probably check out there. I'm not going to list them off because some people might have these, but I will say one that really struck me that might not be on a lot of lists is when, and I mentioned this on the podcast, when he walks over in the very first scene when he's doing like the detective work, and he walks over and he's the first one to notice the dent from the carpet scrape in the ground. He looks at it super subtly, doesn't say a word, and then the police officer or whatever comes over and takes a picture of it.
Yeah.
Like that is like the subtlety of that and the importance of it later on. Like you don't think much of it when you're watching it, but like the way that they just focus on that scene for just like a split second longer than you think, like why? But it's telling them so much of a story there, like how intuitive Batman is. It's telling you more about the movie that we're not quite in tune to yet. But like, there's just so many little pieces in there, right? Even like the Riddler being slightly careless, just a little bit careless by letting that thing go, right? Like, there's so much in that one moment that's something that really sticks. It might not be my absolute favorite scene, but it's definitely something that I think needs a little bit more praise in there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, the interrogation scene with the Riddler is one of the great Batman scenes ever in any Batman movie. I have watched it not just the 3 times I've seen it. The acting from Pattinson and Dano. You know, I'm not going to tell you it's better than the interrogation scene with Ledger, but it's not far behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Just watch that scene, everybody, if you get a chance. You can Google it and find it. I mean, the nuances.
Illegally.
I know.
Everybody's watching that HD
Don't
leak
tell
of
the people
What you
Spider-Man.
meant to say was purchase a ticket at the local AMC Regal, etc. Thank you. Now you can
Listen, I can't stop watching that scene. How great it is. I'm just telling you guys. It's
once
not,
again, when you go see the movie and you buy a ticket.
yeah, if you can't.
Okay.
I think my favorite scene is from the moment Batman lights that flare to the moment the copter lifts off with that woman on the stretcher. It's probably one of the most heroic things we've seen Batman do in any of these movies. The most human thing we've seen Batman do. Mm-hmm. And it was just a perfect way to, end the whole arc of this movie, him going from vengeance to hope. Like the city is scared of him, but first the mayor's son takes his hand and then the new mayor herself. And that's like giving the rest of the city permission to start looking up to him as a hero. And I think it might be my favorite shot in the film when he's carrying that woman over across the roof of the amphitheater to the stretcher, and she reaches out to grab him, and he holds her hand for a second, and then keeps his arm in the air as she flies away from him in the copter. It's perfection, and That's Batman. That's pure Batman. Everyone's focused on how dark Batman is, and Batman is dark. Batman is violent, but he is also a force of good, a force of hope, someone for the city to look up to, and it's perfect.
Man, so well said. And like, it's such a great bookend to the beginning of the movie where you have his monologue and he talks about, he's like, they're looking for me in the shadows. I am the shadows. And then you transition to who he becomes at the end of the movie, and he's literally the light guiding Gotham to their salvation kind of thing, right? So that's some next level filmmaking for sure.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely. And it was just cool seeing his suit in daylight like that.
Yeah.
Like you don't really get that a lot in any of these movies, and it looked amazing.
Oh man, and that Aparo style side profile, give it to me all day.
It felt real too, that scene. Like it felt like that could happen in real life. Like that felt like a recovery from a natural disaster, and you've got Batman there just helping people. Like it was kind of it kind of really stuck out to me in that sense. Like you can get in this comic book movie and all these type of things, but that felt real. Like there's I think a legitimate connection to like, you know, I don't like using the word grounded because there's all different levels of that, but like that felt real to me.
Yeah,
100%.
It's real, dude.
Well, it's so like well done and crafted that just listening to Anthony describe it was like getting me choked up. Like the images in my head again.
I'm like, we need some Kleenex over here. I see grown men cry.
like literally, my eyes feel a little watery right now just thinking about that scene and the importance of it.
Damn it, Anthony.
I'll see myself out now, folks.
Welcome to the nerd room, Anthony.
This is why we brought him, to bring the feels.
Awesome. What about you, Sergio, man? What's your take on that question? I'm kind of curious.
I think favorite scene for me, honestly, easily was probably the Batmobile reveal.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, man.
That sound design
with the sound and just honestly, man, I don't think I've ever got more excited at any point during that film. It was just the Batmobile reveal, and then the car chase scene was tremendous, man. And just the vibrations in the seat and everything. I thought it was off the chain, to be honest. Goosebumps. Honestly, I got goosebumps when they revealed the Batmobile. The lights popped, and then you hear the engine, and just like sick.
And just how he used it to intimidate them, right?
It feels like it's a monster that's coming to get everyone. Like it's like it's
Stephen
so
King.
the way it builds, man, and then it shows every character's reaction to it, and it's it's so epic. I was gonna say that, Serge. Now I gotta change it. No, I'm kidding. For me, it's a scene that I actually don't see people talking about a lot, and that's not a bad thing. It's just I wonder why. I think it's because it's a scene that's so quick. But mine is, I do agree with all the takes here and the takes from some of our other friends. I know I've heard Justin say this, I've heard Emmett say this as well, and Anthony touched on it. It's the most heroic Batman that we've seen.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I agree with that take. But in a lot of the third acts of the Batman films, and my memory might be a little shoddy, but some of the stuff is done away from people. Some of the stuff is done really subtly. In Rises, he kind of shows up during the war, and even though he does take the bomb away and the kids on the bus see it and the city sees that, to me, my favorite scene that I get emotional at is when he comes through the ceiling at the end. Because everyone's like, it doesn't show people react to it, but everyone's so used to him being in the shadows. He shows up, he's in the darkness, and he's with the cops and everything, and he's not really seen. Some people don't know what he is, but in that moment, everyone looks up and sees that the Batman is there to save us. And just the way he lands and the score kicks in, it's one of the coolest. I still think the warehouse scene is my favorite Batman action sequence, but for an entrance and what it means when he comes through the ceiling there, because in that moment he has to. He can't do anything. He can't sneak around. He's got to go in there. And in my mind, he's treating that last battle with, you see the way he gets hit, like it might be the last thing he ever does, like he might die. So when he comes through the ceiling, it's, I'm done with the darkness, I'm done, and I just got to go in there. And it just feels so heroic. And the way it's shot with, like, it's quiet for a second, then all the boom, 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 and then he lands, and then the dun, 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 it's so cool. It's so cool. It's I wish there was cheering in the theater when I saw that movie, man. I wish it had that kind of vibe, because that's a moment where the crowd should have started going crazy.
No, that's a great moment. And like Ryan, it did have shades of that Kilmer skylight shot, but at the same time, it didn't have the security guard going, "It's Batman!"
Mom, it's Batman!
Boiling acid.
No nipples either.
It's a bit of a swerve scene too, because like in that moment, I thought like, okay, something's going on with like the Riddler stuff. And then all of a sudden, like Batman comes through. So like, I think in that moment, there's even more of like that take aback surprise, because you think, oh shoot, like is something else happening? And then all of a sudden, boom, like there's a slight delay on it, right? It's not like your typical, he comes through at the same time as the explosions, as the glass. It's like in two parts. And so it's so well done. The reveal there's a split second where thinking, I don't know who's coming through here or what's happening. And then here it goes.
Yeah, no, it was cool. And I love the fighting, because that's like one of the few times, like we got the warehouse scene, and then we got this where you get that ambulatory Batman who's can move and is just like this force of nature. And that scene goes directly into that badass like flip around the one piece of rigging there. And
I love that. It's so cool.
Yeah, amazing. Like I love that. And the other bit I loved is when he first comes into Oswald's club, and just the way it's lit with like the red strobe light and the techno music and the fight choreography is so cool, because he's taking his licks, he's giving his licks, and then they have the that's why they call him Batman moment, where he's fighting with the baseball bat and then chucks it at the guy as he's taking the shot. Amazing.
I'm glad you brought up that scene. We took a really good friend of ours at the IMAX event on Tuesday, and he was excited for it, but he was huge on Affleck. He was huge on the Chris Nolan stuff. So he was a little reserved. And when that scene was happening and he's kicking ass in the club, he taps me and he goes, "This is fucking dope." Okay, he's in. It was good to see. It was good to hear.
Man, that's wicked. Yeah, as much as I love those bits, for me, it's that moment, like I'm watching the movie, I'm loving everything I'm seeing, but then when he hits that first murder scene, and as he's walking, he notices the bloody shoe print. Jim tells him the kid is who found him, and then he just locks eyes with that little boy, and he loses himself in the eyes of the mayor's son. You can tell that he sees his reflection, and it was amazing. And then they brought that theme back the 3 times, right at the funeral and then at the end. But man, that really moved me, and that cemented it that Matt Reeves knows what he's doing. He has all my confidence. Like, we are going to get a Robin eventually. And this movie did all the work that it needed to do so that people will buy in the second, third, whenever Dick Grayson shows up, kind of thing. But like, just so incredible. And like how you have this just force, this guy who you saw pummel like 8 gangbangers moments before is basically brought to his knees by this little boy grieving type of thing. And just phenomenal stuff. So anyone else want to weigh in as to their favorite moments here?
I'm just gonna check out one here from the comments from Jacob here about Bruce. Shout out to Bruce. He doesn't have a huge part in this, supporting character, I think. But there are moments in here that I think are forgotten in between some of the epic Batman stuff where Bruce really takes center stage here, and his character becomes so important in the latter part, especially, with Falcone and some of the other pieces there, that you need those moments. You need that slight downtime in these very dense films to spend and have a little bit of exposition and get to know Bruce Wayne a little bit more. I think 2 and 3 we're going to get quite a bit more Bruce, but shout out to some of those Bruce scenes.
Yeah, we'll get Pattinson rocking that Tenet look before too long.
That'd be good. I think So most of my favorite scenes actually involve Gordon and Batman, because that to me is a huge deal from the comics. And as Javi and Zeddy knows, I love Jeffrey Wright as Felix and Bond, and to see him bring that same energy to this was just electric for me. So I think my favorite scene of the movie is probably the GCPD lockup, when after Batman's locked up from the funeral and he wakes up and they have that little thing. This is not how you do it. And then you're gonna punch me.
Yeah.
I love it. That whole sequence.
Here.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Oh yeah, my favorite line in the movie where he's like, "No guns." It's like, "Yeah, that's your deal, man."
All their interactions were just so good, especially like the one with the penguin later on. That's one of the best scenes in the movie, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were a true partnership, and I really liked that.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah. I didn't expect to see that, but yeah, that they were just rolling together and that they're the only other party that the other guy trusted was cool. Like
they were buddies.
Yeah.
It was a real partnership too, right? Because I often look for like the audience eyes into the film through a character, and Jim Gordon was that character, right? Like even that moment where, he doesn't even stutter when Batman says no guns. He's like, like I like you, Carlos, absolutely love that scene. He's like, absolutely not. Like I don't have a huge tactical suit on. You know what I mean? Like it was a real comment, and he's very much that way. Like you think that maybe he's going to say something to him when he's in that room with him, but no, it's that subtle, like, just hit me. And then after the fact, he's like, man, he could have pulled that punch.
Well, even the third act, when he sees Batman hanging from the rafters, outnumbered with the Riddler's goons, like advancing on him, like he doesn't even think. He's like, how do I get up there? And he just leads a charge to go rescue him. It was very much a buddy cop film in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I like that spin.
Yeah.
Something I really appreciated, in addition to all the great things you guys have already said, is the moments of imperfection. Like I love that Morrisonian Bat God victories in the preparation take, how Batman's thought 20 moves ahead of everything else. But it was really fun in this movie to get like those moments of mistake, like the Batmobile stalling, getting the riddle wrong about L versus La, and just there's a couple other ones too, where when he escapes from the GCPD and like his parachute catches on the thing and he falls. Like I liked seeing him not be perfect yet and still finding his way to eventually get there, in like year 10.
Yeah. Even some of his action sequences, he seemed, I wouldn't say clumsy, but he not maybe so finessed, right? I mean, he's still year 2 Batman, and I dig that. He's still learning, man. He got lots of learning to do.
Yeah, he takes his licks, which was cool. It was it was. I watched a neat little video by Matt Reeves today, and he was actually breaking down that GCPD scene, and he's like, I wanted to show that this is a guy who knows what he's doing, but at the same time he's totally flying by the seat of his pants. And that's why he goes up to the top of the building and he's like, oh shoot, like became street pizza, and then he gets annihilated because he misjudges the bridge, right? So
I like how it wasn't just like the usual Batman's gonna glide around kind of thing like we've had basically in every other movie. In this it was something different, and I think it's in the art book they explain how it works, where it's underneath the armor, it just kind of wraps around. I thought that was cool.
Okay, that's neat.
Well, it allows you to bring stakes to the character, right? Like as an audience, when you're watching this, like depending on what you're framing out, right? This is very, they've turned down the fantastical side of things of the comic book piece of it, and you want to have a character that feels real, that has slight amount of fear in there, that is fallible. I think it makes him a much more personable Batman, personal Bruce Wayne, that he's not like this perfect dude. Every Bruce Wayne, every Batman we've ever seen is flawed to some capacity, but this one here, it just again, I come back to this idea that it feels real. It is, you can connect to it much more as an audience.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes things more interesting when your heroes are vulnerable and they're inclined to make mistakes, and it gives you a story to tell as opposed to just this force that's infallible kind of thing. So Evans, man, hit us with your question. you were like the 11th hour edition here. So I don't know if you actually got one, but if you do, man.
I thought of it while we were talking. I got it. It's
All
a
right.
simple one though. It's a simple one. We've seen a lot. We've seen kind of the same Bat villains recycled over and over. We see the Joker. We've seen Two-Face. We've now seen Penguin twice. Catwoman 3 times. Who is a Bat villain you guys want to see? We're going to ignore the tease we get in this movie. Let's ignore that. But who's a villain you guys want to see in a sequel that we have not seen on screen, and that would fit the bill for Reeves? Not grounded, but not, not Batman and Robin universe. This is like
You
a
took
good
my
middle
question.
ground.
You took my question.
Sorry.
That's a great question.
I'll go first because I'm with Chris. We think alike here. Hugo Strange.
Oh yeah.
And what I would like to see is Reeves could do it where you could create the Clayface Man Bat maybe from Hugo Strange and have it be realistic enough that it could exist in this world. The monster, the mutated form or whatever, the tragedy of that behind it would play very well into this story. I don't want to talk too much. Go ahead.
That's a great one.
I wasn't ready. So
I'm sorry.
someone else go.
I'm gonna go the Phantasm.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That's a great one.
There's so little we know about this Bruce Wayne's past, except that he's so closed off emotionally. It seems like it would be a natural fit. Maybe he had this romance at one time that ended badly, and this woman from his past comes back to haunt him now, both as a woman, but also as the newest villain plaguing Gotham. And I just think that costume would translate so well into live action and could be so creepy and, aesthetically very cool to look at in this universe.
That would be so fresh for CBMs too.
Mhm.
Like it would be something really different too, just a really different kind of villain that I think Ant-Man and the Wasp went for, but then they chickened out with their typical twist villain third act thing they try to do. There was a lot of potential for Ghost in that, and it turned out to be not as big. No disrespect to that film, but they clearly wanted it to be Goliath as opposed to Ghost. So well said. That's a good one.
I like that one too. And we've never had that kind of Jilted X Fatal Attraction type villain in a comic book movie, eh?
Right. And you see a lot of people online saying, talking about Joker fatigue, which I don't buy into. The Joker is so popular for a reason.
No.
But if you want to bring him back as not the main villain, the animated movie shows he could fit very well into a supporting role in that type of story. So
yeah, that's a great point too. Yeah, I don't buy the Joker fatigue either. There's an argument to be made that he has almost a bigger fan base than Batman in some corners. I remember when...
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, man.
No one's having Green Goblin fatigue.
No.
Willem Dafoe was in 3 Spider-Man movies. You had the Green Goblin in Amazing 2, and now he's back again in No Way Home. Yeah. No one's tired of the Green Goblin. No one's, saying it's kind of like with Lex Luthor. Like every Batman needs his Joker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you have people on the other side of it if Joker isn't in, like if he does a trilogy and Joker's never mentioned, right? Yeah. I think this one, the thing I love about this Joker, as we go off into this our normal tangents here, is that it sets the scene for something later, and I hope that they wait on the Joker. Like it's your quote unquote Thanos type of let's build to this villain that he does have history with. Yeah. That's what I kind of want out of that. But when you're talking about other villains and that, I don't have a huge basis or foundation in the comics or whatever, but a character I always wanted to see done like in an animated version, more serious way is like a Mr. Freeze. And I don't know if like this universe can tolerate the more fantastical elements of Batman's Rogues Gallery, which I think you'd put Mr. Freeze in, but like, is there a way to integrate that character into this universe in a pretty meaningful way? I think there is, and I think it would be kind of cool to see how they approach that, even with his, and maybe focusing more on his backstory and what they did in the animated series and all that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you just tone down the scope and efficacy of his freeze weapons, right? And
Ice to see you.
Yeah.
Has anybody watched the Batman animated series?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That version of Freeze was kind of cool, no pun intended, but he was he wasn't a bad version. He was a jewel thief, so he's automatically kind of more evil, and that he was a bit toned down. He wasn't like Arnold's version, the Power Ranger
Yeah.
suit and all
Yeah.
that.
I think you have to base it in that, and like the more of that backstory that he has
Mhm.
about him being him doing this for a reason, and then there's something bigger that he's chasing.
Yeah.
Like you could bring a chemical or biological element into it. I don't know, but it'd be neat to see something like that tackled. Because that was actually like that was my question, and I'll change it or whatever. Maybe we won't get to it, but it was that fantastical element, like to build on Chris's stuff. Like, can this universe support a fantastical rogues gallery or someone bigger or different than the traditional grounded villains?
Yeah.
That was my question too. So,
Well, I think like a bioweapon, right, is how you do Freeze.
Yeah,
And you-
exactly. Yeah.
You just kind of do it that way. For me, it's a bit of a tap in, but it was going to be the Court of Owls because they've already kind of laid the groundwork for something in the underground of Gotham and some unseen societal force, and I think it's kind of timely topics too, as people wrestle in the real world with mega corporations and the uber rich and all that kind of stuff. I think you could do some neat stuff with that, and you could probably also build your Dick Grayson Robin origin into that too, because there is a through line with that character that ties really closely into the Court of Owls, right? So you maybe build that whole thing with them using acrobats as their talons, and then that the Court of Owls death of John Mary Grayson. Bruce, you've laid the groundwork as to how seeing kids orphaned affects him, takes in protege, and off you go, right? And with Dick Grayson, he's got so many skills automatically built into him that you can kind of hit the ground running with him being an acrobat and whatnot. So yeah, I think that the Court of Owls is my favorite for where they go, but I think it's almost a third movie type of thing where you tease them out a bit more in the second one. And
I was about to say, I think they should be more the Thanos. Like, you build up to the Joker, but you also build up to Court of Owls. Like, you need a few movies establishing Gotham's corruption first, I think, and then realizing, oh, it's the same group behind it all.
Yeah, we don't need to limit ourselves to 3 movies here. You know, I think everything is shown that the three movie, the trilogy is maybe the basis, the foundation, but there's always a 4 and 5.
James Bond can do it. Why can't Batman?
Yeah.
I think
the
that's
Daniel
the
Craig
perfect
method.
trajectory.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got for me, it's I feel like they could do something cool where every movie they test something different for Bruce. I think in the sequel and Vic, it can. So I'm thinking about villains. I'm really I want to buy into that he can get more fantastical, but I'm just going to assume he's not, just because the world that he presents in this one. I think you can do it where maybe the Penguin hires this person or someone else, man. First film we tested his intelligence. Let's test his physicality, and you could do a Slade Wilson Deathstroke, man.
Oh yeah.
That he was an assassin for the army or for the black market, and the Penguin wants him gone. And it can kind of be like they teased in that Affleck script where like he starts to pick people off, and that might feel like the Riddler again, but you could do it differently where, man, he shows up and he just bodies Batman once, and that's why he has to get a new suit. He has to redo his fighting style. He might need a Robin.
Sounds like Ryzen.
He might need. It's not like Ryzen. I mean, it's similar, but you won't have to tell you twist or anything.
I'm just kidding.
But I think you could do a Deathstroke, and it would be really cool. And you could work in a backstory for him too, like he was, a soldier that was forgotten or that was thrown out. You could try to tie it back to the Waynes. You can say that he was a member of the Arkham family. Like you could do something really cool with it. So I think Deathstroke works really well in this universe that Matt Reeves has created.
Yeah, to build on your point with him taking out Batman at one point in time, like your dad said, would he have to, like, how many push-ups would he have to do to be able to come back and defeat Deathstroke after that?
Just tie yourself up and unbreak your back.
Or that's why he needs his Robin, right? It's why he realized that he needs, and that could be a cool story for the Robin character. Like you can't do this alone. I told you. You can't do this alone, and almost have him push, kind of like how Tim Drake wants to be Robin. Like he could push him towards like, let me help you. You got your ass beat. Like, let me,
Totally.
I could draw the fire. You do this. I'll save the people. You focus on him. It could be really cool.
And that's what I want out of this version of Robin more than anything is when they do a Robin, I want that Robin to be the guy who saves Batman.
Oh, yeah.
On a fairly consistent basis. Like I hate Robin the boy hostage type of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, one thing I want to pull in here from Ryan that escaped me a little bit is the fact that we have 2 TV series. You know, we're talking about like the slow build, the 3 movies, the trilogy, and limitations on that. And this is where this universe is going to really benefit from HBO Max in the similar way that other connected universes is that the streaming service platforms are going to provide hours more of build time. And, you know, you've got Reeves already involved in this, right? So this idea of a larger, grander narrative being built into these films, we can do that through Gotham or whatever is going to be the Arkham or Gotham PD or the Penguin show that was kind of just said, all right, we saw the results. Penguin it is, right? And you can do a lot of work, especially with like that underworld, the underground with the Penguin show. There's a lot we can do here to build to some of these villains that gives us the foundation to go a bit more towards like a Mr. Freeze or a Deathstroke, right? You can seed a lot of that in these shows.
Well, the Arkham show especially, who knows what villains they're going to just have there. Like, that's the perfect way to introduce Hugo Strange as a character on that show. Or even, and I don't think they will, but they could, Dr. Harleen Quinzel before she ever becomes Harley Quinn.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. And that's another thing that I love when they do is that there are these villains that exist in Gotham before Batman ever shows up. Like they were there, they've terrorized the city in the past, and you know, the GCPD took them down and they're there, but he didn't cause them all. So that's a direction I'd definitely like him to go.
A camera pan along like a cell block in Arkham is all I want from that show. Just kind of like teases like so much, like everything from like Calendar Man to like whatever, right? Like just like the slightest thing, it just like scales back and you just see like all of these like wild cell door. Oh man, that is what I want so bad from that.
Yeah,
Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
That's who the twins at the club were at first.
Yeah, that's what we all thought. Remember? Good time.
No, that's awesome.
I'd like to see them, since they hinted at it a little bit, like have Batman take on Hush in like a third or fourth movie.
Yeah.
Because you had the thing with the newspaper guy, last name being Elliot, and they made a big deal about showing Hush on the screen afterwards. And I think you could do something really interesting with that, and not make him like the Riddler, but instead have him go after Bruce Wayne himself. Like, let's give Bruce some time to get established, to get the Playboy thing out there, and then skip to a Hush that's had plastic surgery to remake himself to be like Bruce Wayne and to try and take that identity away from him. If he feels that, you know, the Waynes took away his father and whatever future he had, you could do something really different where he's not going after Batman, he's going after Bruce. And really, I just want to see that Batwoman costume for Hush redeemed, because that looked awful. That's probably one of my least favorite interpretations they've done on that show, but I've seen cosplayers have better Hush costumes than what they had on Batwoman. And I just want to see what Matt Reeves could do with that.
Yeah, it's a simple look too. That's really cool. It's amazing that they fumbled that thing. But
just look it up.
Oh my god!
Yeah, he just looked it up.
Yeah, it's.
Someone needs to tweet Matt Reeves and tell him to pop in here for a few minutes and tell him we've got 3, 4, and 5 written plus a couple TV shows.
We got it all.
Why did they massacre my boy?
There's a lot of that in season 2. There's a lot of massacring going on.
Looks like a lizard.
Man.
Yes,
I love the ideas floating around here. Kind of, it gets, you know, there's always that tendency, right, to like jump to what is next and not sit in the moment. But I think the thing that Matt Reeves did here was so organically build the universe that is in front of us, and it we can enjoy the here and now, but because we have the ability to get more in HBO Max and that it's done so well at the theaters that like I'm surprised they haven't announced a number 2 already and just said, "Yo, we're a go." I think it's all but confirmed in there, and Pattinson seems like he's in for the long haul too, and he can maintain that, right? Like they can go slow and steady at this because the guy doesn't appear to age. So
no, well, and I like that they're not putting the cart before the horse with sequels and stuff like that. Like it more than made its budget back in 3 days, but that they're like, yeah, you know, we'll see what happens. And the director's like, yeah, I got 3 different ideas for a sequel, and Pattinson's showing up in theaters saying, make sure you support the movie so that we can do another one. It's like, dude, there's a contract somewhere that says that you're doing another one and another one and another one and another one. But Anthony, my man, 'tis the season for you to drop your question on us, man.
Sure. So full disclosure, both my questions are already asked, so I had to think of one on the spot.
Welcome to Caruso, so he's about to deliver. That's right. He's about to deliver anyway. Because Caruso means victory. Fun fact.
Is there a so we know Matt Reeves drew from Ego and The Long Halloween and Year One, Earth One for this film. Is there a specific scene from a Batman comic, graphic novel, even the animated series you would like to see in the future adapted for the big screen? Because for me, I'm a big proponent of using freeze in the sequel. Gotham's underwater. It's perfect to freeze over Gotham. And like this one started on Halloween, freeze around Christmas, end on New Year's, because I would love to see Jeffrey Wright and Robert Pattinson have that coffee that Gordon and Batman do annually on New Year's Eve in the animated show, saying, here's to another year, making it through another year. Let's hope we're here next year to do this again. I think the relationship they built in this movie would just lend itself to that scene. People would really enjoy it, and I'd love to see that brought to life. So,
shoot, that's a cool one, man.
That is hard to top.
I don't even know what I can do anymore.
I need heat.
That's mine, man. No, that's mine.
I just want a blimp in this.
Yeah,
from the animated series. Just give me a blimp, man. But there's got to be something like, again, I don't read Batman comic books, so like I'm not going to come up with anything profound here, or even from the animated series. I watched that as a kid and all that. But there's got to be something with like that Dick Grayson origin. I'm pulling at threads here, guys. That has to be something in there. I'm not going to come up with the exact thing, but the concept and ideas that you tossed around, Carlos, and kind of some of the back and forth with the potential for Grayson in here. There's got to be something profound that's been put to screen there with the two of them, whether it is, his Bruce and Dick's interaction, or it's a Batman Robin thing. Like, is there a scene in there like where Robin saving Batman and this is pretty iconic? Like, I need something like that. Like, there's got to be something like that, right?
I think one thing's for sure, at some point, unless he breaks tradition, Alfred will tell him, men just want to see the world burn. That's how it starts, the fever, right? Somewhere that's coming.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, there's a great Alfred scene in this movie, of course.
Yeah.
The hospital scene.
Great scene.
Again, we talked about it. There's so many scenes. But I would think that there is more to come from that relationship. A little bit more profound, a little bit more emotional, probably. Stakes being a little higher.
Oh,
I dig it. I dig it. Like Alfred's another. Yeah, he's a funny one in here, but there's got to be something. The Alfred being that father figure was something cool, but he is also like the emotional waypoint for Bruce in this one, right? Like he centers him. He's the anchor there for that character, and it was interesting seeing him kind of do the "you're not my dad" moment.
Yeah,
yeah. But I loved how it came full circle, right?
Yep.
Because he says, "You're not my dad." You see him regret it. You see Alfred process what Bruce had seen when he sees the mayor's son on the footage from the contacts, and then we get Bruce accepting Alfred as his father, so to speak, in the hospital.
Yep.
Where he's like, I'm sorry, I failed you. I didn't do a good enough job raising you, essentially. And Bruce is like, well, no, you don't have to apologize. Like, I loved this movie said so many things without actually saying them and putting it on Main Street kind of thing. I think for me, I'd love to see Batman in a sewer. And, you know, if you do the Court of Owls, maybe that's where your maze is from the Court of Owls story. Or if you integrate Killer Croc from...
Oh, dude, you just... Yeah, that's what...
the Earth
Solomon
One
Grundy.
stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Dude, that stuff's compelling.
That is really beautiful stuff if they could incorporate that.
Yeah, and I kind of like the way that they did Waylon in that book, right?
Yep.
Where he's actually a noble character who's just
Believable.
because of his looks, he's chased into the sewers kind of thing. So
There's not really a scene I'm looking for or a story, but that's a great question, Anthony. Of course, we knew you were going to deliver with that question.
I know.
For me, I'm looking for a character. I think it's time for a Dr. Leslie Tompkins.
Oh,
Absolutely.
And give me something where Bruce, I think, is going to need, in addition to Alfred, he's going to need somebody else to kind of help him understand all this stuff, and
with the mental illness, maybe?
with the mental piece of it, with the coping with the stuff with his parents. I think I want to see. I really liked when the Waynes might have been corrupt for a sec. And that's the only big critique I have. And it's not big because it doesn't hurt the movie for me, but they quickly in the next scene make it kind of undo it, but also make it still kind of gray. Like, well, I don't know. It could have been a thief. It could have been Alfred's telling his point of view. Falcone's telling his point of view, and Falcone's bad. Alfred's good. So you lean more towards what Alfred's saying. But I like this idea of Bruce having to deal with that and understanding no matter what your parents were, man, you're the hope of the city now. And you're not defined by them. You're going to be different. You have to be different, because I think the beauty of this movie, the reveal that I think the first time I saw the movie, I said, what was this big reveal? And I thought I didn't get it. I think the big reveal now, I've also seen it 4 times, so I've could write an essay on it probably, is really everything went bad when the Waynes died. Like, they were the catalyst, that renewal. The minute they were taken off, whether good or bad, that's when the city really fell, because the renewal fund. So Bruce has to be different. Batman knows he has to be different already. So I think Leslie Tompkins, in addition to Alfred, is the perfect character to start guiding him there and to let go of the past and move forward and redefine what Wayne means and redefine what the Batman means in his mind. I think that would be really interesting, because we haven't seen that recently at all in these films, a character like that.
No.
And I thought it was such a missed opportunity in the film not to have her like cameo at the hospital when Alfred was in it. Right. Or even like answering the phone when he finally gets through to Wayne Tower instead of Dora. Who, by the way, I wish they named Aunt Harriet or something. Something like call back to the 60s.
Yeah.
But
no, that's true. Did you guys read The Imposter?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, she's great in there.
Yeah, and like even something like that version of Leslie would be really cool.
Yeah, I love the whole idea that you're going to come to therapy and we're going to work this through every day, or I'm going to report you to the authorities.
Yeah.
That's cool.
How about a Batman film set in the winter? Snowfall, you know, the still of the night type, you know?
We can get a white suit with wings.
Could be.
There, man. Like Arkham Origins did a great job of him in snow, man.
Love to see that. I'd love to see that. Another. Give me another Batman Christmas film. You know.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
Yeah, that'd be.
Well,
nice.
and he's just such a cool looking character in the snow too, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just want to see him with a gargoyle standing on it, like the Jim Lee, the iconic picture.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's all I want. Just give me a gargoyle.
Especially if they bring in that blue and gray suit.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, you've just sold 1 million T-shirts.
I know we had Raish in the last trilogy, but I kind of want to see Reeves get to that point. I want to see like Batman shirtless in the desert having a sword fight with Raish,
That would be
for like the fate of the world over like the clench fight. I mean, it's probably a little too soon to have a virus, as a plot line, but just something big and epic. Like as grounded that word is, as grounded as this movie feels, it still feels really comic booky to me, even though when you think of comic book, you think of like Dutch angles and the Schumacher colors, but like it's both like something, it's just tangible, but bigger than it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Reeves that the sky's the limit. Like we don't have to stick with just this one tone because he's such a fan of the character. I feel like we can go in a million directions right now with where he takes Batman. As long as he keeps the character at his core, like you can twist it any number of ways. And I'd like to see them, have fun with it, not just make the same movie over and over again. And just give us those different flavors.
You guys see Batman going like international or staying in Gotham?
Oh, I don't know. I think you keep him in Gotham, and then I think you play more with your Batman on a world stage in whatever you're doing with your Keaton, Batgirl type characters, because then you can bring in the rest of the Justice League and have some fun there. But yeah, and there was a time, and I've talked about it on our show all the time, where I kind of like the heroes outside of the United States kind of thing. But with this one, he just feels right to be held in by the box that is Gotham City.
Keep the character tight.
I don't know. You could do like with HBO Max, you could do like a Batman Incorporated, like just limited series, 10 episodes, 5 years down the road of like him setting up franchises. Like that could be fun.
That would be fun. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be, and who's to say, like you said, like it's comic booky enough that, technically the Batman that we got in issue 401, who's dressing up as a street thug kind of thing and getting his butt kicked on the stroll, is the same Batman that sets up Batman Incorporated years later type of thing in the comic books, right? So yeah, you just got to do the work and tell the story the right way. So yeah, Mr. Zednik, what's your question for the group?
Oh baby, all right. We got a lot of hero talk here, right? So let's talk about the big villain of the movie, huh? I mean, I said it on our show, long gone are the days of this guy wearing a green leotard, not hamming it up with Nicole Kidman and Tommy Lee Jones. This is a more serious version of the Riddler. As we've come to see so many comic book movies now, we've seen a lot of risks with different characters, heroes, and villains. So, point I want to ask you guys is, was it worth the risk with the Riddler? Did the risk make the reward with the character? What do you think?
Zodiac Killer Riddler? I'll go first because I'm not a fan of the Riddler, the traditional version of the Riddler. So I didn't mind burning him off to tell the story. Like I didn't mind the Riddler dying so Batman could run kind of thing. So for me, I was fine with it just because I don't know. I don't have a huge affinity for that character in particular, but that's just me.
I think the Riddler is such a hard character to do right. It takes a special writer to get him right because he can, thanks to Frank Gorshin's popular portrayal, err a little too close to the Joker characterization. So I think it was worth what they did to the Riddler. I think the Zodiac Jigsaw type characterization they put on him actually made him scarier and elevated him for what he is in so many adaptations, whether it's a cartoon or the comic. So I think it turned out awesome.
Yeah, I said on our podcast that I never really felt like that original Riddler. I just kind of put that, like you said, Carlos, out of my mind and just went with this character like he's brand new, which he was. And it's one of the great villain performances of any of these movies, what Paul Dano delivers. And I'm equally ecstatic that they did not kill him, that he's still there. Because I think he's going to evolve into something else. And he's going to have friends with him.
Mhm.
and we may have only seen the tip of it. But man, I got to be honest with you. I don't know how you guys feel. I mean, I look at villain performances, and I'm always going to take Heath Ledger and put that at the top. We love William Dafoe. We love Alfred Molina. I mean, I'm not so sure anybody else besides those three are as good at what this young man did with this role. It's
No.
freaking fascinating. It is unbelievable to me.
He did a great job. And like, to build on your point, they have that exchange with the Joker at the end where he feels that he's been
Wait, the
overshadowed.
Joker's in the movie?
Whoop, spoilers. Solve the riddles on the
Oh, it's
website.
Two-Face.
But where he feels like somebody else is taking credit for his work, right? So
Yep.
that could be your segue into him having that more flamboyant personality and that more overt version of the character down the road. So,
And in terms of people who didn't like the aesthetic, now he doesn't have to hide his face because everyone knows who he is. He made that name for himself.
Yep.
So now he can go for a more, not the leotard, but like maybe a green blazer even with his insignia on it and go more traditional. I mean, when they took off that mask, I was thinking to myself, he does look like the Riddler. He has the Riddler's face.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like Edward Nygma, like in interviews and stuff, too. Just Paul Dano. He looks kind of like Edward Nygma.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
Well,
Ian definitely captured it well.
Yeah. to turn the question around too, I think the sacrifices you guys put of the Riddler here, and to echo a bit what Anthony was saying there about like the issues with it being very close to the Joker and why Nolan didn't use the Riddler in Rises or any of his subsequent films. I think that the Riddler here allows the detective side of Batman to really shine.
Well said.
In a very, very pointed way, right? Where that character and the way that he's portrayed allows that part of the Batman and of Bruce Wayne to shine brighter than it's ever shined, I think, in any of the previous iterations of that character, where it's always been a piece of it, but it's not been so much of a focal point of who that character is. And so, yeah, the Riddler not only, I think, is done super well as a villain and what they put for, I guess, what they could do with that character, but it really elevates the Batman side of the story, too.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to these movies, your hero can only be as good as your villain is in a lot of cases. And in this respect, the Riddler completely works. And this is the kind of Riddler I always wanted to see on screen. And I saw glimpses of him in like the Batman animated series where he had that Marilyn Manson looking Riddler. He was a little bit more dangerous. And then the Telltale Riddler actually had these jigsaw type puzzles too. So there was little, you can see him, but here they just went full on with him, and there's no going back. I think this is the Riddler now.
Yeah. The beautiful people, man. The beautiful people.
They are beautiful.
I mean, we're talking about like characters that are 83 years old now.
Yep.
And the only way that it's going to survive is by constantly reinterpreting it,
Yes.
Just like Adam West didn't do, what Wilson did in the serials, and Keaton didn't do what West did. Like, you have to reinvent these things for the next generation.
100%.
Otherwise, you're going to get stuff like Johnny Appleseed and Paul Bunyan, where those were legends in their day, but no one talks about them anymore. Tarzan, like, people try, but no one successfully like reinterprets it for a modern audience for it to keep going.
Yeah.
Zorro. And as long as we, keep doing that, but keep the core, I think, just bring it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Like the idea of interpretation, right? Like all of these versions of these characters are just another interpretation from another creative.
Yep.
And you cannot stick. I don't think there is an idealized version of a character, right? It's just whatever the next creative is going to do. Like
I was gonna say, like, to Javi's point, like they had that scene where Batman solves the riddle in the apartment, opens up kind of the private chat room, and he sees that video of the Riddler. And like number one, it made me laugh that he went into the standard kind of YouTuber TikTok voice with his,
Hi,
with his
guys.
followers. so that made me laugh. But then somebody complained about that being silly and that he didn't have his Riddler voice on and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, no. To this generation, that is the threat. Like the guy who puts his manifesto on and then goes out and does something horrific in the community kind of thing. So this is a logical evolution of the character to kind of bring in a villain that a generation that grew up with social media and whatnot could kind of see where they would come from. So
and it's terrifying because he's so lackadaisical about it. Like it's no big deal to him.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question for you guys while we're on the topic of interpretation. Given how like enduring and popular the Adam West interpretation is, do you ever see WB doing like a Black Label film, standalone, like adaptation of, you know what, let's go full on campy and adapt the 60s show again, given so many people still have that love for it, even new generations?
Yeah.
Like a sequel, like a proper sequel to it?
Like just a standalone movie, like the Joker was its own thing, not connected to anything. Like they could still have their dark Batman film, but like let's give you a standalone live action
Batman
60s type. Yeah.
And get Taika Waititi to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
And that might get Oscar love. Who knows?
I think you got to have truth in advertising with it, right? Because
Yeah.
for me, Batman and Robin was that.
Yeah.
The reason that I actually like Batman and Robin over Batman Forever is that it actually knew what it was, right? Like it was this schlocky, campy, spiritual successor to Batman 66, where Batman Forever kind of had a foot in a couple different worlds.
Didn't know where it was gone.
Yeah. So I think if you put out a Batman 66 version under a Black Label, so to speak, that's awesome. And I think you could have some success, especially if you bring in somebody like a Taika Waititi to guide it. But you need to make sure that people are 110% aware as to what it is. Yeah.
Maybe more like an HBO Max thing or something like that, you know, like where I'm not sure you could do it if you've got this thing running concurrently with it. I'm not sure you could do that on the big screen, but it can be done.
If you just market it, because like they're doing, like, I know it's animated, but they're doing like the DC Super Pets. You just market it, like you just market it right away as a comedy Batman film. Show it in the trailers, give it the feel, and I think you can make that for a younger audience to like Batman too. Right now is the time to do everything Batman from this moment on, like they're doing with all the Spider-Man stuff. Right now, you should.
I think that's what they're doing.
You need the animated theaters.
That's why they moved the movies back.
Well, you need.
They're trying to figure some stuff out here, man.
It feels like
you don't show that sizzle reel before.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Well, let's be honest with each other, right? You show that reel and you get everybody excited. And I understand VFX and all that, but I think that the success of this movie has as much to do with some properties being moved back. I think it allows them to take a deep breath and say, like, we got this one. You know, we hit this drive. We're on the green. We're not in the sand trap, right? We don't have to figure out how we're going to get out of here. We're not in the rough. So let's maybe take a little more time and do these things right. Of course, my head speculates that maybe it means more Batmen in some of these things. I don't know. But if you're telling me they just moved them to move them, I don't know, man. If this movie didn't do as well, it's an interesting thought here, you know. And I don't mean to get off it, but I'm only going on his point that it's the time of the Batman right now.
Yeah,
it really is. But we're not really getting any more Batman this year, right? We're extended now for a long time.
Meet John Hamm as Adam West, and I'll be good.
There you go.
Yes, that's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah,
we've got John Wick Batman coming this summer now.
Yes, we do.
So
we do. But I think it did. Like I said, I think they've kind of just relaxed right now and said, "Well, we're okay."
Yeah,
I think they
I wonder how much of that sizzle reel was The Rock versus WB.
Wow.
I saw speculation that it was him wanting to really promote everything, while the WB has been more guarded in recent years, ever since their failed Comic-Con announcements, like 3 years in a row where they announced whole slates that never came to be.
So let me ask this to you guys.
Is this your question? Hold on.
Yeah,
Is this your question? Because we always get one.
And
right?
it's related
we
to the
only
Batman.
get one.
Did the Batman
I still get my question.
make The Rock blink a little bit to where he saw it was so good that he said, like, we gotta buy a little more time here, because we obviously have heard there are going to be some minor reshoots on Black Adam. You see the quality of what this guy delivered. I know they're different films. I get it.
The only reason I will say maybe is because he did publicly say, we've looked at the first cut of Shazam and it's good, but it could be better. We're going to explore how we can make it better.
Okay.
Which makes me think maybe. Is it because of the Batman, though? I'm not quite sure. I think not only the success of Batman, but I do think the hype after the finale of Call Me Crazy, Peacemaker, got them thinking. And I think for both Black Adam and The Flash, they're looking to say, how can we branch a little more? And I always felt like the Shazam coming out so late was silly. And I think they said, all right, now we could finally bridge these. And now, like Carlos tweeted, Black Adam riding into Shazam makes so much sense now. 2 months apart. It makes so much sense. It is a sacrificial lamb with Avatar, but we'll see.
I don't know. Like, I'm firmly of the belief that there's room for two. Like, Jumanji really performed against Star Wars twice.
It did.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be the same dynamic, right? Where Avatar is going to be some pretty serious high fantasy, and this is going to be kind of a 4-quadrant comic book movie, right? So I think it's fine. Like, there's always room at Christmas for two, and then a straight up kids movie, right?
Yep.
So Shazam actually ticks 2 boxes. So if families are making decisions come December, I think it's actually in a decent spot. I honestly think it'll fare better against Avatar than Aquaman would have, because Aquaman is kind of playing the same song as Avatar is, whereas Shazam is definitely something totally different.
That's a good point.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
If you remove like the Cameron from the equation of Avatar, that first movie caught at a specific moment because of the technology, because that's when we finally went from the blue and red 3D to the different style of glasses, and then all of a sudden everything like the next 2 years was like, you got to see this in 3D. And as far as I know, this Avatar doesn't have that kind of thing behind it. It's just going to be another movie. So I think their chances are a lot better than people think.
And
especially now that everyone has smelled what the Reeves is cooking. So
you bring up a good point, because Avatar 2 is rumored to be heavily underwater, right? And then for Aquaman, another film, underwater setting might be too close. So I think regardless, Avatar 2 is going to be a monster. I think it's going to be a monster.
I don't know, man.
You don't think so, Tim?
I'm not. I tell you right now, I'm not gonna go see that movie until I have no desire to see a movie that I saw like a decade ago, a sequel to it, and I didn't love the first one. I still have the Blu-ray or whatever it was wrapped up in package. I never watched it again.
but there's almost $3 billion in people that did see it. See, I didn't like it either. That's my thing. I think they're laying back, and I agree with Sergio. I think Shazam gets decimated, absolutely decimated by Avatar, to the point where it's a shame. I don't have the faith that Carlos has. I don't, because the first one did nothing, and it didn't built up no loyalty, no audience, or anything. No one.
I don't know. Like
the first Shazam, but nobody else that you talk to, there's no chatter about it. unless Black Adam is so big
that
and
it
it leads
creates
to it, and it
that
creates
could help it.
It creates a
That
discourse for it.
that could help it.
But-
And some of the other heroes cameoing, like the rumor is Gals and Shazam.
Okay.
That can
Aquaman is your $1 billion guy, so you don't sacrifice him against Avatar either. You don't. That's smart, and I'm sure the VFX wasn't ready too. But I always thought someone was going to blink there, and it was going to be Aquaman. So you move him to March, and you give him a little
Is
bit
Avatar
of
coming out? Do we
Yeah.
know that for certain? Is it coming out?
Well, we don't know that either. We might be sitting back here in a month, and maybe Avatar doesn't come out. You're right.
So here's my bold prediction: is that Shazam actually wins the battle of the box office domestically, and Avatar takes it internationally.
I hope you're right.
My man, that's
a long shot, dude.
That's
I
my
love you,
bold
but that's a
prediction. And
long-
like Eric said in the comments, Shazam is budgeted so it doesn't have to do huge numbers.
But that doesn't matter though, because you're still talking about,
But it's not sports.
A movie maybe opening the
Yeah.
So
It's not like Avatar goes and wins the Stanley Cup because they make more money. It's just whoever does.
Yeah.
As long as it's profitable, right? And builds the fan base and generates goodwill and.
Sure, I get what you're saying, but a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 ratio, I think that's why they moved that movie up. I'm just being honest with you guys. I think they needed another movie at that spot. It's done. It's ready to go. It's probably testing well, and it makes sense to come after Black Adam. They did not want to sacrifice Aquaman because that is their little jewel in the rough that nobody knew was going to do what it did. And
that's their $1 billion baby right there, right?
So, and the Flash, gentlemen, I don't know what that is, but they are banking on that movie more. I mean, that is like kind of their linchpin to maybe everything.
I think everything got moved because The Rock realized the hierarchy of power changed earlier than he expected by Pattinson doing so well.
It's not that easy to take over that hierarchy when you got that guy with the long hairs and the cowl, dude. Because I don't care what The Rock says, I love him. There's never a hierarchy of power that's going to change.
Yep.
In the DC superhero world, it is always going to be Batman. I'll come back on this show and apologize and say I was wrong to anyone. There will never, mark my words, be a time where The Rock will ever change the hierarchy of power over Batman. I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen, dude.
No, well, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out with the new changes and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I think it's a good thing. James Wan seemed legitimately happy.
Yes. Oh yeah. Wouldn't you? If you could move a couple months and not have to go against Avatar if it does come out, and he does have more time, and it's a better spot because if you look at it, I think he's got like about a 3-week run in March where nothing major's coming out the week before and a few weeks after it. So he's got a little time to breathe there. The Rock also has a good spot in October, but there are those Halloween movies. There's a couple things coming out before it and a couple weeks after it. See, I look at these movies now. It's all about this longevity. How long could they dominate at the box office? And so much of it is what is coming after. What could have an impact? Even our guy here we're talking about now, he's got the next, really, Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt are going to be the first real obstacle for him.
I wouldn't call that an obstacle.
Don't sleep on the 2 A24 films coming out, X and everything everywhere at once.
And again, I don't mean to ramble.
Shots my indies.
But the box
Shots
office,
my indie
the
movies.
box office is so fascinating to me because when it gets clogged with all these movies on top of each other, it's interesting. You've got Jurassic World coming out, Doctor Strange. There's a lot of stuff coming out.
I think the Batman benefited from Strange moving to May rather than coming right after it, like a week or two later.
Oh yeah, it's got a clear runway right up until like April 1st with Morbius. But yeah. So anyone else have any questions for the group? My man Nico.
we're going back to the Batwoman or
Batwoman.
That's so funny. I was gonna
Son
say
of a-
back to the Batman, and you said Catwoman and the Freudian. That's called semantic satiation when two things come together in your brain.
Whatever,
I'm a
yeah.
speech pathologist, so that's why
Amazing. I love it.
We're all impressed.
I have my master's degree. Thank you.
I want to see it.
I actually someone on Twitter actually asked me to show it. I'm like, well, it's in my office, so if I could just drive there. Honest question. Because this, and I put on the shades because this might get a little heated. This might get a little spicy.
Oh, no.
Because I had a very friendly, healthy debate with my friend Zach about this the other night. I do think it's clear there's going to be a Robin in these films for Reeves. These things are kind of crooked. I hate these. I do think there's going to be a Robin. My question is this. You have the Titan show. I get it. It's not on the scale of the films. You have Leslie Grace's Batgirl, and you have maybe Dick Grayson coming in there. So this is a two-part question. Does Robin, as much as this is my third favorite DC character ever, does Robin have to be Dick Grayson? Can we go straight to Tim Drake? Why does it? We're going to have multiple, pun intended, dicks at once, both on HBO Max and maybe in the Batgirl film. Or let's go a step further. Maybe it's not Tim Drake. Maybe Matt Reeves is big about doing things we have not seen before. And you can say there's a Batgirl film happening, sure, but is Matt Reeves going to go for a Carrie Kelly, a Stephanie Brown, a accurate Cass Kane? Because for me, I won't lie to you guys. He is one of my favorite characters ever, but in this Reeves world, I don't know if I need Dick Grayson again. I'm much more interested in a Tim Drake. Heavily more interested in a Tim Drake. Jay Lacurgo is in the movie. Yes. Thank you for the reminder. And I won't lie to you. I'm a little more interested in me personally, maybe a female Robin for this story. I just think maybe, and it's because I'm trying to think like Reeves. He's so big on doing things we have not seen before. And I know there being a Batgirl film kind of counters the female aspect, but I don't know. So for me, does it have to be Dick Grayson is my question. And that might be an easy no for you all. So take it a step further. Does it have to be a traditional Robin?
I don't think so. I'm cool for them to take this whole movie universe on a divergent path and do something completely different. I think the movie itself does ingrain itself in that tradition, but I think there's the ability to take this wherever, and I'm game for it. And I can tell you, I have a very young daughter upstairs that, although I will not show her this movie anytime soon, but she would be stoked to see another very empowered female figure in this movie universe.
I'd love to see Carrie Kelly as Batman in the film. Honestly, I'd prefer it, to be honest.
She's a great character, man.
Yeah. Switch it up, man. Switch it up.
Right?
You know, just with all the characters, really. You know, different interpretations. You know, like they did with Riddler. Different villains we haven't seen, different heroes, Carrie Kelly. I'm with it, man. You know, we've gotten how many Batman movies do we have, or TV shows, or you know, here's an opportunity. You got a filmmaker. I think anything he wants to do, he's gonna crush it. To be honest,
Absolutely, man. I trust whatever. Now, like literally, it's funny. Every interview I've watched, I've told him this. I said, well, everything Matt Reeves says is cool. And everything he says sounds like so confident. Like he could say tomorrow, I'm going to do a villain that comes out of a toaster, and I would be like cinema. Cinema. It's called The Toaster, and Batman. The whole movie is Batman in a room figuring out how to unplug it without touching it. Cinema. Frazier, give me Giacchino, give me Reeves, give me Pattinson by himself in a room. Brooding with
Give me that
Academy Awards
right now.
Yeah.
Does it have to be Dick? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Anthony.
I was just gonna say, does it have to be Dick Grayson? No. Do I think it's going to be Dick Grayson? Yes, because to Tim's point, I think Matt Reeves is steeping himself in tradition a bit, despite this being his own interpretation. And I said it earlier in the show, I think he really does have a love for the 60s series in a lot of ways. I mean, this is the first movie since the 60s movie where we got all 4 big bads in the same movie, technically. So I think he's going to bring in Dick Grayson as a Robin.
Fair.
Yeah, I'm with Anthony, and that's the Robin that I love, kind of thing. Like like Dick Grayson and Cass are my 2 favorite members of the Bat family, but yeah, it's got to be Dick for me. And I think he's probably the easiest one to build into because he comes with a set of skills that's immediately viable within the Batverse.
That's where I give it to you that Dick makes sense. But you can make Carrie Kelly an acrobat too.
But see,
I could do this. I could do this all day.
What's interesting to me
Just
too
kidding.
is if
Love
Jason
you, brother.
Licurgo is his name, right?
Jay Licurgo.
Jay Licurgo. If he wasn't
You're
Tim
rough
Drake,
with the names.
I'm
Sometimes
bad with
it's
names.
funny.
Everybody knows
It's
I'm bad with
funny.
if he wasn't already Tim Drake, it's a fascinating thing in that opening montage, how he looks at him and he's just overwhelmed by him. And like, I was already fantasizing, like he's so inspired by him that he
About Jay
completely,
Licurgo.
yeah, that he completely changes his life around and studies the Batman. But we're already getting that story in Titans.
But
It's a
here's the
shame.
thing, though.
Go ahead.
Titans will probably end before the next film. You could Ryan Reynolds that and just let him play the character again in a different way.
Yeah, or make him Jason Todd.
Yeah, Jason Todd might be the way to go.
Make him Jason Todd.
I mean, the animated series, Tim Drake, was very much a Jason Todd character.
Yes.
Both in attitude and kind of backstory. So with what they've got going on with the multiverse, they could easily make Licurgo just a Tim Drake of a different Earth, and this is kind of his origin. Or they could take the kid, the mayor's son, and John Blake him up and make him like the new Robin.
Oh, that's a buzzword.
That's
That's the buzzword.
Started a
Buzzword.
You
Zeddy's going to go up. Hold on. John Blake. Zeddy Blake. No, but well
That's
said.
fantastic, man. That is
Okay, I listened to you guys' breakdown of those movies, and I will change the paradigm on John Blake for you, because I like with the whole name thing at the end and everything else.
Yeah.
John Blake is an amalgam of all 3 of those Robins.
Sure.
He's the policeman that Dick Grayson is. He's the orphan, grew up on the streets that Jason Todd is, and he's the kid that had the smarts to figure out who Bruce Wayne Batman is, like Tim Drake.
I never thought about it.
I mean,
That's a great point.
So
why
that's
That's why he is the
world-
goddamn
the
Batman.
world's greatest
Damn
detective.
But don't
There
you
it is.
agree?
just
it
further
was-
proving why I'm the smartest on the
Don't
Vigilante
you agree
1939.
that
My man.
if his legal name was like Richard Grayson instead of Robin?
No.
No.
but he's not Dick Grayson. He's the amalgam Robin for that world. Right?
His name was Richard Todd Drake.
That's kind of funny.
You're kind of
Yeah,
very funny.
sure. I don't know. I like the insurance adjuster's delivery
Right,
of Robin.
Richard Todd Drake.
Or you could have whenever Pattinson was training before he took on the mantle, he was in the Middle East and met Talia, and then 2-3 movies down the line we get Damien.
That's what I want. I want to see Damien.
That
Like
would be cool.
The new
too,
Gotham
man.
Knights show is going to have Carrie Kelly. And I think we're getting Dick on there too. So let Damien have his
Oh, wait.
day.
Time out. Somebody asked earlier about a comic panel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see him see Pattinson go, Father, I thought you were going to be taller.
God, I love that.
I love that. That I would love this because I have always loved
I love that panel, man.
I love that so
I
much.
thought
man.
Or in the Harley Quinn show when he tries to give him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I cut the crust off the way you like it. That's the best, dude. You gotta watch
I
the
don't-
Harley
I don't
Quinn
watch
show.
that
It's
show,
so funny, man.
Yeah.
And his relationship with Robin is the funniest thing, man.
The only thing I got to do is see this
Stop.
movie for the 4th
Stop.
time because I've only seen it 3 times. And I feel like I need to be with it again.
I'm lacking. I've only seen it the one time. You guys are up
That's
like
it, huh, sir?
4,
Just one time?
3.
I'm
I
at
think
one.
you-
I'm at
I
one as
think
well.
when you see it again, you're gonna like it more. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
Because I've liked it better. It's one of those strange movies where I've liked it better every time I've seen it. Like the first time, oddly enough, I was irritated a little bit, slightly with the runtime and the third act, and I loved it. But the second time, I was like, oh, it plays better.
Yeah.
I'm understanding it. I'm picking up some of the more dialogue. And the third time I saw it with him, my daughter and my wife for the first time, and I was like, wow, it's better than I thought it was, and I thought it was great,
I'm gonna try to
So-
watch it again in IMAX. I suspect I'm gonna enjoy it more.
The
second time
Batmobile
around, to be
in
honest.
IMAX.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Slap.
pretty mind blowing.
Yeah.
It's pretty mind blowing.
Right,
What?
Carlos.
Slaps.
Yeah.
Who's seen it only once, or you, Tim?
Me.
Just
Yeah.
once, yeah.
Anybody
Just
else,
one
or
time.
only once?
Just the one, yeah.
Carlos, how many times?
I'm at 3 and like
Anthony?
dying for 4.
I'm at 3.
Zeddy, you're like what, 26?
I got more than Blue Angel, apparently. No, I'm just kidding. I got the
Are you four?
four.
4.
Chris.
Holy.
I'm at 2 right now.
Javi.
I'm at 3 as of yesterday. I need to go see a Dolby
Oh, wow.
Vision screening soon.
Dolby was my
no.
favorite experience of it.
Mine too.
Yeah, Dolby.
Will
I've said for a while.
Will you break your No Way Home record or no?
What's
No
it,
Way Home is
6?
6.
And
In Justice League?
No.
What was Justice League?
No Way Home was technically 7.
Wow.
Justice League was 6, but that was a different story.
He was trying to unite the
It was
seven.
like Stockholm syndrome, and I wanted it to make the 600 because I thought we would get a sequel,
a
and
sequel.
then everyone died, and then Affleck quit,
Yeah.
and then Cavill was headless in Shazam. And I said, "Whoa, god damn it! It didn't
Yeah,
work.
right.
It didn't work. All my money down the drain."
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
you
when
wanna
you're
know,
live
wanna know what
stream-
channel I don't watch on TV anymore?
What's that?
Discovery. But continue.
This is
That's
hysterical.
funny.
This feels like a boycott hashtag movement.
Zaslav.
I'm boycotting everything until I get Batman Beyond. Screw everybody. I'm just kidding.
Well, you're kind of getting it,
Yeah.
but with,
No,
Leslie Grace.
no, I'm not.
You're getting it with
But
my
here's the
girl
great
Leslie
thing about
Grace. Hold on. You're getting it with my girl Leslie Grace. Now you can continue.
the best thing here is we're all probably still all going to see it one more time.
Oh, I know.
And we're not going to see it alone, so we're going to bring people. So that's kind of cool for the rewatchability of the movie because it is almost a 3-hour movie and it's a dark movie and it's not a movie to bring in. Although I probably would have took him at 4 or 5 years old, but
But it,
That's
you know what?
fresh.
I'm probably not a
Godfather,
good
like 8
I'm probably
years
not a
old.
good father.
Especially with Scarface when I was like 9. It was dope.
No, and on that note, like it honestly speaks to how great the movie is that
Yes.
everybody's lining up multiple viewings and dying to see it another time type of thing despite its runtime. So, and speaking of runtime, we're butting up on 2 hours here,
Yeah.
so we shall probably call it a night. But yeah, Sergio, let's just go as it falls on the screen there. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you and catch some more of your heat, man?
Yes. Hey, once again, gentlemen, thank you guys so much for having me on. I had a blast with everybody here on this panel. You guys can find me every Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, the House of Nerd Show, baby. It's a dope place. We talk comics, we talk nerd. We got a great community in the live chats. Have fun doing the comic side of things.
Yeah, these guys have some pretty incredible guests on and
Yeah,
some
dude.
awesome
Hell
deep
yes.
dives. L's in the comments there, and you guys bring the heat every week. I rarely can make it live, but I quite enjoy the replays on YouTube there. So
Hey man, I appreciate the support. 100%.
yeah, man. Anthony, my man.
First of all, thanks for having me on. It was an honor to be doing this with like all my podcasting heroes here as a starstruck.
Hope you had
You
fun, man.
I did. This was a
Our
blast.
family. Our family.
Yeah, exactly. Long lost cousins here. You can find me tizthepodcast.com or Tiz the Podcast in your podcast feeds every Monday morning. or you could follow me on Twitter at acaruso929. I can get a bit heated on there, as people who follow me on this video know, but give me a shout.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great feed. And the podcast, you know, it's neat to be in the middle of March and be listening to Christmas stuff. It's cool. It's honestly cool. And the love of Christmas shines through.
Zeddy, you know what? We've talked about Batman plenty on there. So
yeah, exactly.
Check it out.
Exactly. Zeddy, Caruso's, pump the tires.
Zeddy, do vigilante.
Man, speaking of things that are heated, apparently my Twitter, but I'll plug that in a minute here. Oh man, this was certainly a night at the theatrics, guys. Let me tell you. And much like all of you guys on Twitter, I am what also podcasting and Twitter needs me to be. And where you guys can find that is at Nick Zanuck. But most importantly, I guys would like you to follow Vigilante 1939, which is a show that I co-host. The two gentlemen that are literally right next to the screen on my screen, the Carusos, or you can find that podcast wherever else you get your podcast at. Thank you, gentlemen.
The Grifter. You can follow me at Caruso Jr. I just want to, again, it's great to meet Anthony. He's got the Nerdum on the East Coast covered. We've got the Midwest. We need some Carusos on the West Coast. We got to
find us.
We got to cover the
territory
here. We spent 2 hours talking about this movie, and just to show you how great the movie is and how in depth and all the actors. We really didn't talk about Colin Farrell too much, and we'll do this later. And nobody brought up Catwoman. What the hell, man? We didn't even get into Catwoman and the relationship and where that's gone. So
that's because we all know.
You
could follow me.
What you mean?
You could follow me. Check out her latest IG post. Unbelievable. And that was a professionally done thing.
Nobody buys Playboy magazines anymore, that's for sure.
Well, okay. Well, Zeddy was explicit with that comment. I'm just kidding. You could find me riding around in the city at like 12:30 a.m. dressed exactly like this in the city of Chicago on Lakeshore Drive and then Lower Wacker. I'm just kidding.
I hope not.
You can follow me here, Nico Caruso on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. I do movie reviews on TikTok. I did one for The Batman, and I just did what my daily routine looks like after seeing the Batman with Something in the Way playing. I try to do my best emo Bruce Wayne impression. Go check that out. We also do a Spider-Man podcast with our good friend, Mr. Peter Vera, who's in the comments at Italians for Spidey. And then we do a nice Kiss podcast about one of the greatest rock bands of all time, 3 generations of Kiss fans. New episode came out yesterday talking about Def Leppard. We're doing some other bands as well. I know it's a Kiss podcast, but I said we had a show about Def Leppard with our good friend drummer Rob Myers from Everyone Loves the Drake podcast. And you bet he wants Robin in these films, and you bet he wants it to be Tim Drake. And we are Vengeance. We are the Night. We are Little Caesars, Batman Calzone. See you next time.
Excellent. And based on that TikTok that you just released, if any of the ladies watching or in the comments needs a domestic partner, apparently Nico's available.
If you read the journal I wrote.
Yeah. It's that attention to detail, man. That's why I'm the world's greatest detective.
My man.
As long as she doesn't move in the house, we're okay. Because I've already got the 2 kids here. And,
you're a good man, Mr.
Tim.
Thanks,
Tim, if that happens,
each his own on that one.
He's my wingman. He is the Batman to my Robin. So thanks, Carlos.
Yes.
I got you, baby. Javi, give us some plugs, man.
Oh man. I mean, we've been talking 2 hours, but it feels like 15 minutes. You can find me on Twitter at Javi True, on Instagram at The Bond Is Not Enough. If you want to check out my reviews, I write for the Dadgum Original Batman on Film. I'm covering Robin, Batman Catwoman, Batman One Dark Knight, and probably some other stuff I forgot. Time permitting, I'll pop up on the Spider-Man crawl space. I do comic reviews for the JamesBondDossier.com when there's a comic. Once I wrap up this current series, I don't know if there's anything coming up. And March 23rd, I think, on the Spidey Dude Radio Network, my son and I will take over the Amazing Spider-Man Classics podcast for some very fine gentlemen and kind of start over with a reboot. But this time we're looking at it from, a father-son dynamic, with my son reading Amazing Spider-Man from the beginning for the first time, and he's in high school. So we're getting his 21st century opinion on, 60-year-old comic books now. So far we've
awesome.
recorded 5 episodes, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. Oh, what a unique idea, and what a special way to share
Thanks, man.
this hobby in this space. So yeah, definitely be checking that one out. And last but not least, Chris Evans, my man.
First, thank you guys for having me. It's always fun to hang out with my favorite people on Twitter here. Also, nobody mentioned Officer Martinez. He's the unsung hero of Gotham City. I'm gonna keep saying this till everybody realizes it. He saved Gotham at the end.
He did his own show.
He should. I mean, I'll watch it. It'd be like a cool cop thing. I'm in. But anyway, you guys can follow me on Twitter at thatChrisEvans0. But I prefer you guys follow the YouTube podcast I do with my buddy Emmett Davis at G of the Geeks.
Excellent. So everybody who's stuck with us, everybody who's watching this after the fact, everybody here, thank you so much. Timbo, take us home. Everybody on the screen, stick around. We'll chat and get drunk in the after show, and
You're not supposed to tell people that.
Oh, they know.
Yeah, everyone on the screen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here in the Nerd Room. The thing I loved about this conversation is the divergent take. You know, this wasn't a breakdown, and that wasn't the point of it. It was to get a different perspective, different spin, and it might not be for everyone, but I've had an absolute blast here, guys, and it has been great to interact with new people here. And we hope that everyone's taken just a little bit away from this one. And to close this thing out, you can find Carlos and I over at the Nerd Room podcast. You can see our handles, or at least his handles is on there. Mine is at the NerdRM, bottom right of your screen. And we release our podcast every single Thursday, talking all things Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and beyond. So make sure to go check that out. If you're here, if you're new, give the channel a subscribe. Give a like on this thing and help us build this out. We're trying to build this YouTube channel out a little bit more over the last 4 months or so, and we're having a lot of fun with it. So more live streams to come, more videos, more of Carlos unboxing stuff. That is for sure on this YouTube channel. So again, thank you so much to all the guests, everyone that was kicking around in the comments. We appreciate you guys contributing to the show. And thank you guys all so very much for entering the Nerd Room.
And if you like Paul Dano's Riddler, he is a contributor on our YouTube channel. So
he is.
It's a fact. Watch a video and you will freaking see him. Guaranteed.
We'll talk to you guys later.